I've been working on a game for 2 years. I wanted to make this video not just to advertise that it's now finished and playable for free in the description, but also to document what it's really like to make games. Back when I was first learning game dev, I watched tutorial series to walk me through projects, as I had no idea how to begin. Sarah Spalding's platformer tutorial was a big help in teaching me the basics of text-based code. I've made a top-down shooter, a platformer, a strange Connect 4-like game that let you control gravity, and a card game that was quickly abandoned as I realized that I don't play card games and had no idea what I was doing. My thought process through most of this was that I didn't want to rely on anyone else to make my game. I wanted to be the guy who could do everything that a game required. I knew that I had zero skills in coding, art, sound design, music, or any of the other moving parts that are required for a game to be fun, but I was bent on changing that. The inspiration for this project came largely from two games I had been playing at the time. One was HoloCure, much like the popular Vampire Survivors it was inspired by. I was fascinated by what HoloCure took from Vampire Survivors, what it added, and what it extended upon. While Vampire Survivors was very hands-off in its gameplay, HoloCure was more interactive. I was wondering what would happen if I took it a step further, once again decreasing the amount of enemies and increasing the danger of each enemy. The second inspiration I got was from Toho. I've always been a fan of bullet hells, but Toho is easily my favorite with its beautiful bullet patterns and soul-crushing difficulty. Using these inspirations as guidelines, I started making Tower Scourge. The idea was that you had to ascend a tower, destroying each floor's population before nightfall. You would have 15 minutes to survive crowds of enemies, upgrading your arsenal as you go, then defeat a boss. If you could defeat this boss, then the next level would open up. It sounded like a simple process, but the first release of the game would take more than a year of development. I first started with player movement, then the arena, then enemy AI. The player movement was fairly simple, but needed to be rather open-ended to account for added features later down the line. For the arena, I have a small amount of experience with the art necessary. I made a tile set, then used it to paint the room. A little extra decoration with bushes and trees, and we have a perfectly functioning forest. The term AI has evolved greatly, but for my game, it simply calls for an enemy to run at the player. But even simple concepts like this can be surprisingly complicated. If every enemy follows the same path to get to the player, they'll clump together. So we need to add enemy collision. I made weapons and items that you would get from XP dropped from enemies, filling the gameplay with actual enemies with the hard part of game development. The thing about Vampire Survivors, or any other bullet heaven game, is that it's hard to get into the flow state. Too easy and the player will get bored. Too hard and there's only so much the player can do to fix that. That's why so many of those games have stat upgrades. That and the types of enemies have to be unique, testing different parts of the player's skill. After the enemies, I made Terry, this floor's boss. This fight is the one that is most obviously inspired by Toho, but there's a unique challenge to making a bullet hell in such a large area. Eventually, I decided to add an endless mode that records how long you're able to survive. Every single thing in game dev is a puzzle to be solved, something to be learned. Even if the player doesn't consciously notice that the camera fluidly lags behind their position, it will add to their enjoyment of the game. And this goes for every feature, from gameplay to art to music. That's why game devs have to wear so many hats. For the gameplay, I can't count how many times I looked up tutorials or read forum posts from 20 years ago. For the art, I used a combination of pixel art and the built-in sprite editor for Game Maker Studio. I'm pretty proud of how my game looks, but can still recognize that I've come a long way, and still have much to learn. The things I had trouble with the most were sound design and music. Both are worlds that I had no knowledge in, and sound design was very dependent on experience. There are hundreds of knobs to turn to make a sound, and you can only know which one to use through trial and error. Most of the sounds I used I pulled from free sources, then altered to make them fit the game. I'm most proud of this one. Music is a whole beast. I still have lots of trouble making a track, especially one that can be listened to for 15 minutes on repeat. Even so, I'm proud of the songs that I've made, especially the newer ones. The song in the background right now is actually one of mine, even though it's not in the game. After about a year of development, I had actually managed to release the game in a playable state. I had learned a lot and was very happy with the end result. What did everyone else think? That's the funny part, no one played it. Besides a couple friends and a few downloads that Itch swears are real, I had no feedback on the game. But that was hardly Itch's fault, as I had done literally zero promotion beforehand. I released a trailer that showed the gameplay, which actually didn't do that bad, but other than that, there was nothing. I hadn't documented any of my process because I was worried about pressure. But I was far from discouraged. I still had many ideas that I wanted to try out, and was determined to record it this time. The update for the game was easily harder to develop than the first, even if it took less time. The reason why you find so many side details and Easter eggs in indie games is because developing creative systems is what makes development fun. This update was essentially the same content as the first, just more. So every day of development felt like I was doing the same stuff. Even so, I was determined to implement more unique features in an attempt to make the game better. I made the upgrade system more intuitive, with being able to ban items that you don't want. I made special abilities that could be bought in the new shop. I added special boss rushes that allow you to fight the boss in under a timer, and special enemies that were unique to the ones that I had made before. During all of this, I tried to record videos and document my progress for others to see, but I severely underestimated how hard it was to make and edit videos. I wanted to make a short on YouTube every week, which, FYI, is a crazy idea. Due to life, I can only work on my game for about 1 to 2 hours every weekday. On the weekends, I could spend 4. It could take me up to 6 hours to make one short, meaning that half the time I'm doing game dev, I'm not working on the actual game. And due to the shorts having to be less than a minute, and me trying to get them done in a day or two, they end up not being that good or intriguing. I ended up changing the schedule to 1 short every 2 weeks, then 3. Eventually I determined that I was gonna lose my mind if I kept doing it, and I stopped. The reason why game dev YouTubers upload once every solar eclipse is because they don't want to make a 20-second video saying, "Hey guys, since last time I recolored the sword to blue," even if that feature was actually really complicated and took a week to implement. Upon reflection, I decided to scrap the YouTube shorts and instead take more time to make a video that I was actually proud of. By the time I'm uploading this, I should have also updated the game, link in the description. Whether or not it gains any traction, I'll be happy knowing how much I've learned and how much I plan on doing in the future. I'm pleased with how the game has turned out, and am content with leaving it as is and moving on to a bigger project. I still have much to learn and plan to push myself on a new platformer I'm interested in making. Still an idea flowing in my head, but I'm confident in its potential. I also plan on recording my journey through the long-form content I discussed earlier. Again, Tower Scourge is free in the description, and I'd love for you to try it and tell me how much it sucks.